I considered myself a leftist. I was a teaching assistant for Communication Studies 101. I wanted my students to comprehend how grammar could actually be a big issue in our society. To demonstrate this point, I brought in a clip from TV Ontario. So this is the province's public broadcaster. And in the particular clip I showed, it was Professor of Transgender Studies, Nicholas Matt, and he was talking to Professor Jordan Peterson from the University of Toronto.
And your attempts to regulate my language use and
I don't care about your language use. I care about the safety of the people who are being harmed.
I know. People who make your kinds of arguments are always concerned with other people's safety.
I want to have really deep discussions about all sorts of issues, and I don't think anything should be off limits. And that is today what makes you an evil person.
Do you understand how what happened was contrary to, sorry, what was the policy? The gendered and sexual violence policy? Like, do you understand how?
But, sorry, what did I violate in that policy?
So, gender-based violence, transphobia.
When I showed the clip in my class, I did not take a stance. I was neutral. I treated Peterson's argument just as valid as Matt's argument. But that was the problem. It was a problem that I was neutral.
Do you see where, like, how this is not something like that's intellectually neutral, that is kind of up for debate? This is the Charter of Rights and Freedoms.
But it is up for debate.
But, I mean, you're perfectly welcome to your own opinions, but when you're bringing it into the context of the classroom, that can become problematic.
But when they leave the university, they're going to be exposed to these ideas. So I don't see how I'm doing a disservice to the class by exposing them to ideas that are really out there. And I'm sorry I'm crying. I'm stressed out because this to me is so wrong. It's so wrong. I was just genuinely very confused because to me, the university is a place where you can question anything. This is
basically like playing, not to kind of do the thing where everything's kind of compared to Hitler, but this is like neutrally playing a speech by Hitler. These are very young students, and something of that nature is not appropriate to that age of student because they don't have
18?
Yes.
They're adults.
Yes, but they're very young adults. They don't have the critical toolkit to be able to take it apart yet. This is one of the things that we're teaching them.
Look, the thing is, like, I don't see what's transphobic about showing a video of Jordan Peterson. He's a real person. He's out there. The third thing I learned is that safe space culture on university campuses is economically motivated. So when I first looked into this phenomenon of safe spaces and noticed how so many people are saying that university campuses and classrooms must be safe spaces, I just kind of thought these people are losers. Because by safe space, they don't mean a place where you're physically safe. They mean a place where everyone is oversensitive, no one challenges each other's ideas, and no one brings up anything that other people might not want to hear. So, and I think this idea does have value in some circumstances. So take like an LGBTQ center. People who go to that center don't want to be confronted by someone who's going to come in and say, I don't think you should have the right to get married. Same with an abortion clinic. A woman who's about to get an abortion probably doesn't want to have a robust pro-life versus pro-choice debate while she's waiting in that clinic, right? But the university classroom can simply never be a safe space because there needs to be an allowance for open inquiry and free expression. In classrooms, we need to be able to debate and discuss things that some people might be offended by. However, the safe space phenomenon is actually a little bit more complicated than that. Canadian universities actually advertise that they are safe and comfortable learning environments, And I'm sure I don't need to repeat the platitude that universities are businesses. Therefore, if students are demanding safe spaces, the universities will recalibrate campus culture in order to accommodate that. In addition, the idea that we should always be affirmed and our self-confidence should never be tested is starting in the elementary schools. So the idea that we must always be comfortable, never be confronted with anything we don't want to hear, this will be the atmosphere that children grow up with, and they will come to expect it not only from the universities, but from their workplaces and from society at large as well. The fourth thing I learned is that free speech is becoming a partisan issue, which I find very unfortunate. When my case went public in November, the leader of the Conservative Party, Andrew Scheer, he brought it up in Parliament and asked the Liberals to denounce what had happened. But they didn't. Instead, one of the ministers said something vague about how free speech is good, but hate has no place in Canadian society. So I'm afraid that the Liberals, the NDP, and the Greens, they're buying into this idea that the only people who care about free speech are bad and scary people, because they will barely touch the issue. And in the recent Ontario election, we saw the Ontario Progressive Conservatives claim that they will promise to protect free speech on campus. However, I emphasize that it's really not in anyone's interest for only one side of the political spectrum to champion free speech, because it really is everyone's issue. After all, it is one of the fundamental freedoms in the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Thank you.